Why wasn't Ari miserable? See, Ari's a friend of mine, and I met him after 25 years the other day. And I thought he'll be absolutely miserable, leading a completely unfulfilled life. But the truth could not be far from this. See, Ari was a star footballer in school. Everyone thought he's going to end up becoming an international footballer or at least a professional footballer. But he didn't become any of these. He was still very happy though. At the same time, when we were kids in school, Ari had family trouble. His parents were not getting on with each other, and as a result of which, it was having a big impact on his performance, his day to day life, and his school academics, etc. Ari, as a result, was also hanging around with the wrong kind of kids. He was sort of rebellious and embarrassed at the same time, and his after school activities were not very encouraging, to say the least. All of this was a perfect recipe for disaster in later on life. But Ari turned his life around, and it was absolutely brilliant to hear his story. So what we did as a result was sat down in a cozy North London cafe, and over the next 2 hours or so, whilst it was pouring down with rain, Ari proceeded to tell me what did he do to turn his life around. And it was the most valuable 2 hours of my life that I've recently spent. Much more valuable than any of the self-development books that I've read recently. And what I wanted to do in this video today was distill those 2 hours into a very short video and give to you 4 critical messages that I took away from that meeting, which I am extremely sure will hugely benefit you. So please carry on watching this video. But before we go on to actually talk about these 4 things, I have a little request to make. A lot of you have been following my channel, so thank you very much. A lot of you actually have been regularly visiting my channel and sharing my content with each other, and thank you very much for that as well. But 95% of you currently are not subscribed to my channel, so if you could hit that subscribe button, like this channel, like the contents of this video, share, and hit the bell notification, it would hugely encourage small content producers like me. Thank you in advance. So let's proceed to these 4 things first, which I call the flywheel of life, and I'm going to go into them one by one. Number one, making money and the importance of joy versus passion. See, Ari was a passionate footballer. That was his passion. But as he was growing up, he realized that he wasn't as good as the kids that he was seeing in training camps around him. And slowly, he started to realize that he wasn't going to become an international footballer or even a strong, good professional footballer. So what he did was he self-reflected and looked at what other skills he had when he was in school or when he was growing up. And being a sportsman, he was very competitive. He was very good at debating. He was very good at arguing, and he was very good at sort of gathering evidence. And he combined those skills into a university degree and went and pursued law. And he said to me that even when he was doing law, he always had a very clear idea that he didn't want to become one of those high-fly city corporate lawyers, but he wanted to become a different kind of lawyer. And the path that he chose for himself was that he ended up becoming a lawyer for people called alienated parents. Parents that have been separated from children as part of a messy divorce proceeding when one parent has falsely accused the other one of being an unfit person to be near a child, and they've been completely alienated from their children as a result. So he was fighting for justice, and then it was just so inspiring to just hear from him how he's combined those skills, what he took joy in day-to-day living and formed a career out of it. What is a critical lesson to be learned here is I think not all of us are going to form careers out of our passions. If we can, that's absolutely brilliant, that's great, but that's probably not going to happen for everybody around here. But finding joy in your path of career is extremely important. If you can find joy in your day-to-day job with little things and skills that you have inside you and align your career with it, it is extremely beneficial and it will be very, very important at the same time. So what a great lesson to be learned from a person who used joy and formed a career out of it. Therefore, otherwise, I think the thing is, like, if you have no interest in anatomy and you end up becoming a doctor, it would be like pushing a boulder up the hill every day. So a complete misalignment of your interest with your career would take you always down the wrong path and make you feel exhausted and old and tired much earlier than you should be. So finding some sort of joy in work, because work takes such a huge part of our life, is extremely important. The second thing that I wanted to talk about was family. And as I asked him what happened sort of with his parents, they were still living very separate lives. But he said to me, it was very, very insightful. What he told me was that his parents never got on with each other, which to some extent I was aware of, but being 25 years ago, completely forgotten. And he was carrying a lot of hatred and guilt as a result of that. He carried that guilt on his shoulders as a burden for a large part of his life, up until the time when he left school. He couldn't join a university for 2 years. The first year because he couldn't get into university, and the second year because he unfortunately had an accident. And during that accident, he realized that whilst his parents never got on with each other. Individually, they were both his support and they were both his rocks. They supported him. They were there for him when he was at his worst in their own little ways, but they were always there for him. And what that made him believe was that he needs to let go of that hatred very quickly, because it was occupying a big part of his brain. And he made this conscious effort to sort of return the love that they were offering him, not judge them, and be gracious with them. And I think that for me was distilled of this lesson, was be gracious and forgiving mistakes of your family. Because I tell you what, when the going gets tough, sometimes the only people that you're going to see around you standing up is going to be your family. So it's extremely important to be gracious and forgiving mistakes of your family and not carry that hatred with you, because 100% sincerity generally in this world only comes from your family and very few close friends. So it was extremely valuable. Not that I didn't know this, but to have that re-emphasized and to see the impact of that on somebody's life after they having to change their thought process was very, very strong for me. Number 3 is around friends. See, Ari was hanging with the wrong kind of crowd when we were in school. But as he got into university, he told me he made a conscious effort to hang out with sort of the brighter kids, the kids that were better than him in education and were more worried and caring about what they wanted to achieve in life. And that slowly and slowly started to have an impact on his sort of outcomes of academics. He said to me, he constantly improved from sort of year 1 to year 2 to year 3 in university. And by the time he sort of exited university, he had a very good or a good enough grade to be able to find a decent job for himself. And such a valuable lesson to be learned is that finding the right kind of friends who inspire you, who accept for you for who you are, but at the same time, they inspire you to become the best version of yourself. And when you meet these people, you will know. I mean, I've gone through life having a lot of friends, and trust me, there are some friends of mine that I always sort of keep close to me because they are the ones who inspire me and make me become the best version of myself. They're truthful to me when I don't like something, but they are very, very valuable to me. There's actually a Harvard study that says that if your friends are obese, you're 40%, I think, more likely going to become obese. And that's a very telling, because a Harvard study must be credible. Therefore, having the right kind of friends around you is going to be a very important part of your life. And as you're growing through life, little advice, little sort of support that your friends provide you will overall can have a very big positive impact on your life. And the last thing, as this we're talking about, is that, I mean, this is the flywheel of life. So it's sort of, for me, it's made in 4 parts. It's the time you spend making money, the time you spend with your family, the time you spend with your friends, and everything else. We've covered the first 3, and the everything else part for me is also extremely very important. What he said to me was that he stopped looking in the rearview mirror. He stopped holding guilt, hatred, and he was only looking forward. He stopped victimizing himself as to why was he born with parents who were not getting on with each other, or why couldn't he become a professional footballer, and he started to look forward. He started to let go of procrastination, and he moved forward with positive attitude towards life and started looking at life in the front mirror, not in the rearview mirror. He started to spend time on his physical health and his mental health. And he's not the kind of person who goes to the gym regularly or goes to the yoga regularly, but he found his own way of looking after his physical health. He reignited his passion for football and created this little club on a Saturday morning where he was teaching the local children to play football around him. And that brought him not just mental pleasure, but also physical sort of activity, which he wanted to do in his own way because he didn't want to be a regular gym goer. And I think we need to stop putting people under guilt of sort of only doing a certain kind of physical activity. As long as it was working for him, it was perfect. And from a mental health point of view, whilst his football was really helping him as well, he said to me he was finding joys in little things in life by learning new, smaller skills. And some skills that he was learning, he never thought he'll enjoy them, but he started to. And he picked up baking, and he was enjoying it so much that every Sunday afternoon he took out an hour and did some baking. And I think these little things in the flywheel of life, when added up, make a huge difference on overall. Not all of us are going to end up becoming billionaires. And I think it's sometimes in YouTube channels, it's sort of an overkill to sort of try to encourage everybody to just make money. Money is extremely important. But for me, Ari was the real millionaire. He was leading a completely, or by and large, a fulfilled life. Everybody has challenges. But it was really inspiring to hear his story. It was really inspiring to just sit and talk to him for 2 hours. And I wanted to share that with you. So if you like the contents of this video, please do hit the like button and do subscribe to my channel. And I will see you next week. Thank you very much.